Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back. And today we're going to be looking at the 8.0 update. Now, this is a very big update. There's not as many new toys and new models and new stuff, but it is a huge change and a very, 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 very good change. I'm going to do my absolute best to not make this video 3 hours long, but I can't promise anything because we have so many notes to go over. It's ridiculous. So let's skip right to it. New mods. So new stuff that is coming in this update is in new stuff that wasn't in the last update as far as stuff. We're going to have the Sitka logging map. So Sitka is a logging map that we had back in Farming Simulator 22. It was very popular. I'm not reviewing that in this video just simply because I have so much stuff to go over. But awesome map, brand new. You guys can go on there, destroy some giant trees, and have a good time. It has like these really big trees that people wanted, and it's a huge map with lots of logging ability. Tons of trees. What do we got next? The button top single stabilizer. Actually, I think I have one of those here. Tab through 100 machines. There it is. So not really a new thing, just it is the single stabilizer version of the button top. So it's the same button top head, just missing the stabilizer on this side. And of course, the stabilizer is this piece that goes up and down. This style is used in lots of areas up where I live where they take one of the stabilizers off and you just have the one. It's much easier for loading and unloading of some stuff. So some guys wanted it and you got it. Next one, another grapple, the Power Clam WL. So we have the W version, which is the smaller version of this. This is simply a larger version, which allows you to pick up a lot more logs, and it's also a lot thinner across, so you can get it between the decks a little bit better, or the bunks, sorry, on the trucks a lot better as well. So new one there. The other new one is the XS, which I don't have in here, but it's basically the Power Clam X, which is this really big guy that we have somewhere here. So this is the X, which is this huge giant one with a huge grapple opening for picking up lots of logs. Well, the S version obviously is just with the stabilizer on it. Now, some people were asking if I could add it just as an option, like a selection option, but I haven't been able to get the physics to work correctly when I do that. That might be something that changes in the future where I add options, but I'm still playing with that. So for now, it's just a totally different version, the XS, which is just the X with the stabilizer for XS. What else is new? The Volvo VNX. So this is a in-game truck. So this isn't my model. This belongs to Giants. It's an in-game vehicle. All I did was I upgraded it so that it could handle hauling FDR machinery and it could handle working with all the FDR stuff. So it's the in-game VNX by Volvo. But a lot of people wanted that that tri with the 3 on the back tires, so I morphed this one over, and it is now capable of hauling all of these really extremely heavy machines and logs and all that good stuff. Okay, so that's all the new stuff. So again, not a huge pile of brand new stuff, but it's the big changes in this one that's the new upgrade. So in this update 8.0, some of you have been watching me live stream and do nitpicking and changing of stuff. This is the new heavy update. So the machines are heavy. If you guys want more information on why we went to the heavier machines, I have another video that I put out talking about heavyweights where I compare videos of real life equipment working to in-game stuff, and I kind of did a little hash out there. So machines are up in weight again, not like insane, but they're definitely extremely heavy compared to where they were. Rebalanced all the suspensions, all that fun stuff. So that's mainly the majority of this update is going to be talking about the heavy weights and the new systems. So before we get into all the details on that, let's just go over the actual note list. So starting at the top of our note list, all maps change to shading for nighttime, darker shadows, better light reflection. So basically when you're logging at night, I'm not even going to go into it right here, but when you're logging at night, it's improved darkness. The lights on the machines are improved to work better at night. Everything just blends a little bit better because before it looked a little weird at night. I think it was just like color schemes and stuff. So new shaders, new stuff for the maps. Just night looks a little bit better. I don't usually log at night, but for those who do, it should be better for you. All maps, adjustments to the tree frictions, rolling improved, decking improved. So trees. The trees are pretty much the same in terms of like weight and all that stuff that they were in the previous maps, but the new ones, I found some secret techniques to improve the physics. So now the trees actually roll a lot better. So when you're loading the trees into bunks or into decks, the trees will actually roll off each other and settle into the bunks a lot better. What was happening before is you'd pile them on top of each other and they just kind of stack and stick to each other and stay really high. Now when you kind of chuck them into the bunks, they land and they actually kind of roll off each other and sort into the bunks, which is kind of what you want with loading. That's kind of a lot more similar to real life. So that's a big improvement, and that's all trees, all maps. Now, if you're from a new save game or an old save game, this new update won't hurt your save game. You can still go load it up and play, and the new logging physics for the logs will automatically be applied. So those changes won't affect anything. This map here, Fox Creek, is the map that we're on, has had the most changes out of anything map-wise, and I have a bunch of notes on that as well. So the big thing that we fixed was the ground deformation. So we had an issue where the ground would deform while you were driving with these trucks, and some people were having issues with the trucks getting stuck and all kinds of crazy stuff. So basically, it would make this huge gouge in the ground, and it looked really horrible, and it really was bad physics wise. So that is corrected, all of the roads. I worked with Farmer Bob and we solved that problem. So the deep tracks issue is resolved. So if I go to the mill area real quick here, so the next one on the list is improved log deck collisions at the mill. So some of these log deck collisions were sticking out like really far and you'd catch your trailer on them. So all of these have been pushed back and lined up better with the decks. It's more like on top of the actual logs now, as you can see when I run on them. The actual collisions match the logs for people that were complaining about the hangups. Fox Creek changed friction on cell point for better slide performance. Okay, so some people, this whole area is different now. This used to be just one little slide area. I put this wall here so you can actually butt your logs up against this wall and then drop them down like those ones are laying down there. I also changed the physics on this so that the game doesn't glitch out as violently, because there was so many physics going on here that after you dumped like 2 loads of logs into this little cradle down here, the game would slow down. So that's fixed as well. Fox Creek changed mill area to make it easier for the truck to get through. So again, with these changes that we had, I took out some of these log decks that were sticking way out. So as you can see, you have a much wider space to go all the way around here with a long trailer and make these turns. Some of these decks before came like right out to this corner, and you can barely make it around this corner, but now you can get through a lot easier. Removed stones from the ground. Okay, so on this save game, if you have an existing save game, some of the... Actually, I wonder if it's off the road. I'm actually going to check that, because I think we had it on the roads as well. Yeah, so these stones, if you have a new save game, will actually be removed. If you're using an old save game, these stones will probably still be there because it saved it into the save game. But I've removed all of these stones off the actual map. I didn't have a performance issue, but some people say they're causing performance issues. So anyway, they're off the map. So that's all for Fox Creek. Changes for this map. I'm just going to keep rolling here. So I have to go down my giant list. There's so many changes here. All machines, new improved lights, more realistic for nighttime logging and general day use. So basically, the lights, although not crazy bright, have been improved a bit more. So when you're logging in the daytime, you can actually turn these lights on, and they're not going to be like white out, blind out, because before when you turned them on, they were so bright that they would reflect off stuff and it just looked really silly. So they're brighter for nighttime because they work really well, but they're not overly bright during the daytime. I kind of found a half world there for people. So all track machines, weight increase, large increase due to complaints for tippy and wobbly machines. So again, the weights have increased. Machines are a lot more stable. Even with your grapples and stuff, your machines are going to sit a lot more stable. I tried to make a little bit of weight in the head so that if you go way far off axis and you start wiggling about, you see I got a tiny bit of tip. I mean, not really. I mean, that one track is kind of wiggling a bit. But if you get a huge load of logs and you're swinging off track, you should get a bit of tip, to be realistic. So these machines might be heavier than they need to be in terms of just general weight, but they work really well for all the different implements like the bunchers and the processors and all the good stuff. Next up on the list here, I need to have like a page marker so I don't lose my place here. So new increased weights. So these machines are not tippy or wobbly anymore, and you guys will figure that one out right away. Improved tracks to make them less bouncy. So that was part of the suspension system. They just settle a lot nicer, all the tracks. Obviously, with the new weights, they plant them really good in the ground. Increased swing speed and arm speeds by popular request. So some people were complaining that the arm swing speeds on these things were too slow. So I increased it a bit. So the boom goes up a little bit faster, but not by much. Stick goes out a little bit faster, but not by much on the high cabs. But the swing is a bit faster. It's not crazy faster, but a teeny bit. And looking at it from this view, it doesn't feel very fast, but you don't want to go much faster than this in the high cabs, just simply because you're going to throw logs all over the place. And I've done lots of testing with members of the logging crew, and I've seen some really funny stuff. So the high cabs, that's as fast as you can go, but that's it's more than enough for what we're doing in this game. Now, in the low cabs, they have had a great increase. So these guys can actually swing a lot faster. So your stick arm is actually really fast now. Like, you can actually shoot it out there. I watched some videos of some guys working in real life, and you're able to really punch out that processor head while you're working and return to your spot. And then the swing, again, it's not insanely fast, but once you get rolling and motoring, this is a lot faster than it was in the last update. So you guys will feel that as you're operating. Everything might feel a little bit much, a little finicky, but you'll get used to it once you start rolling. And getting used to the buncher heads is a little different, but we're going to go over that as well. Okay, so stick movement for bunching is way better. All skidders. Okay, let's go find a skidder. I don't know if I have a skidder on this map. I think we just got this forwarder. So all the skidders, they got new grapples for better holding, new suspension, better stability, and more power for climbing hills, because some people said they couldn't climb hills and the machines were underpowered. So now these things, and this uses the same motor chassis stuff as the skidder, they have no problem crawling up hills, whether you have a giant load of logs on or you're skidding and towing a bunch of stuff. But these things will unrealistically, I'll say, climb pretty much any hill. And once they're fully loaded, they do gear down a bit. So like, as you can see, my speed's going down a bit climbing this hill, but not by much. You can still get up here no problem. So again, it might feel a little overpowered for what it was, but for those people that were having issues, I guarantee you won't anymore. So yeah, it's got new, better suspension. It's a little bit softer, but less bouncy. Just in general, as you're driving over stuff, you'll notice that the suspension feels just a lot smoother, especially going over weird stumps and rocks and things like that. Yeah, and basically just better skidders. Okay, so all the trucks. So the trucks had a really big change. So all the trucks now have a lower gearing system, but a gearing system very similar to the in-game trucks, but just with more power so they can haul stuff. So, for instance, my previous trucks, when you fired them up, they would just take off like 0 to 60 in under a second, right? But now, as you go, you'll find that they accelerate. Oh, I'm just going to switch to first person here, if it lets me. You'll find that they accelerate a lot slower, even at full gas. And my thing's glitching out here because it's loading in a bunch of goodies. But yeah, it accelerates just a lot slower and a lot chiller when you're driving around, so that's not quite as aggressive. And you'll find when you get going on flatter spots with a full load, and if you're low bedding or hauling stuff with a full load, it'll be a lot of under tension, so you won't be able to get up to those really crazy high speeds going up straight up mountains and stuff. So trucks, way better. All gearing styles return back to stock. Adjustments to the tire suspension, balance to the nodes so they connect better to the trailers, all that fun stuff. So that's all improved. Trucks are way better. Hopefully it fixes a bunch of the complaints that I had about the gearing system. More on skidders. Oh, the skidders was just the grapples. We improved the grapples so that they hold better. So I don't have a skidder here, but the grapples on the skidders, basically when you're grabbing logs out of decks and stuff or bunches, they just hold on a lot better and a lot smoother than they did before. You can get a lot longer distances before they start glitching out. They still aren't perfect, but they're way better than what they were. All grapples on the machines. Okay, the grapples is the crazy one. So this is a crazy one in the update. So I've made these pretty darn efficiently good, probably as close to real life as I've ever been. And I've said that a million times, but for reals, lots of people were watching the live stream. I'm sure you guys saw me playing with this thing, working back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on the numbers. But now I've got this really nice, smooth grab where it's not overpowered but not underpowered. So you can actually pick up these trees pretty efficiently, and they stay very stable in the grapple. They're not wigging out too bad. They stay pretty smooth. As you can see, it's like a pretty smooth grab. You could still have terrible grabs if you grab the logs, you know, like in a bad way, but for the most part, most of the grabs that I've had have been pretty awesome. And they just, yeah, like I said, just hangs on fairly well. You can still get small ones that'll sneak out the bottom if you don't grab it correctly, but overall you guys are going to feel the grapple strength, and the grapple grips are just like amazing on all grapples, on all machines. It's just, that's what I spent a lot of time on in this update, and I'm really proud of the results. Yeah, just, you guys will notice when you're loading and stuff, it just feels so much better than it did before. The other thing with the grapples is the response time on the opening and closing, you'll notice, has changed. So like I can actually use my grapple to like drop and raise within the same kind of thing. You have a lot more like response control, when before, because of how much dampening was on there, it was a lot harder to go. But now just tapping, you'll have like a lot more kind of hair movement with the grapple when you're opening and closing. And that just gives you much better control and much better reaction to the physics when they roll up into the grapple when you bite down on them like that. So yeah, grapples, huge improvements. I would like to talk more, but I've promised myself I wouldn't talk too much about grapples. So they're amazing, way better. You're going to love them. Moving on to the buncher heads. Okay, so the buncher heads are also, so between the grapples and the buncher heads, the buncher head is the most insanely improved update I've ever had on buncher heads. Absolutely crazy good. So I've completely redesigned the grab arm system and the gripping system, as well as the slide plate and the cut note on the bottom. So basically before, what I had, you guys were running into lots of issues, so was I, where you go for grabs and you'd lose trees all the time. But now with this new improved one, I don't have my joystick set up very well here, but we'll try it, see if we can get it. Now with this new improved one, we now have just amazing ability to cut. So again, you can punch out a lot better with that new faster speed, so you can punch into the trees, but it's just, they hang on so much better. That secondary claw is absolutely bulletproof. You can still suck and mess up and grab trees incorrectly, but for the most part, you're going to find cutting is just insane. And like I said, if any of you followed the live stream stuff, you probably watched and saw the slow improvement of this guy. But I've sent this off to the logging crew guys, and they've thoroughly tested it, and the results from them are just like, this is the best thing you have ever done. It's the smoothest bunching experience you've ever had. Like, it's crazy. Again, like I said, it's this game, so physics can do crazy things, but I have cut thousands of trees since this update, like testing, and it's been absolutely exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. And again, you can be a little more selective with your cutting. Oh, and occasionally that still happens if you catch the head wrong. But like I said, with this game, there's some bouncy stuff that goes on with the physics, and it's not always going to be 100% perfect. But overall, like, oh man, it's just so much smoother. Like, and it hangs on a lot better too. Like with the secondary claws, I redesigned the secondary claw system so that the physics basically kind of go hide in the back when you open the claws, so that they don't get in the way of the next grab. Like I said, you can't really use the same stuff that they do in real life, but yeah, overall, like I said, all the feedback I've gotten from the crew, so it's not just in my own crazy imagination, has been that the bunchers just operate so much smoother. And as you can see, even from us just kind of dinking around here, like, you're not really fighting with these grabs, you're not fighting with the claw, it's not doing anything weird. Yeah, you guys are going to love it. Anyway, I could speak for hours on that. The other change is this node on the bottom here, so which normally cuts into the ground. So again, if you want to turn that on and off, you hit V for Victor on your keyboard to raise and lower that feature, basically. But now I've made it so before there was an issue where you were sliding the forward, it would not kill like these bushes here. It wouldn't wipe them out. You'd have to always back drag to get the bush. Now it'll actually kill those bushes going forward. It will also kill those bushes going sideways. So I made it so that you can sweep now. So basically you can turn the head a little bit and sweep through. You actually have to find the branch, but yeah, you can sweep through and wipe out these bushes. So if you want to sweep and take out a bunch of brush, you can do that now. Before, you had to always be pulling back to get rid of the brush, and it's super annoying. So now you can kind of like just really rip up the ground and clean it up. Again, it's not the most realistic in the world because, you know, it's a game, but it's still cool if you're clearing areas and you want to get that brush out of the way so you can get your next grab in. It's just like an extra added feature. But yeah, excellent so far on the bunchers. So improved that. There's new smoke effect when you cut. So as I go in for a cut, you might see there's a little bit of smoke. It's easier in certain lights, but I basically just kind of redid the effects on the blade for when it throws all the wood chips and stuff. It's a little more chill. As you can see, a little bit of wood chips, but not a crazy amount. Also, stop looking at your update list while you're swinging your cab around. That would make it easier to bunch. I'm sitting here missing trees while I'm reading the list here. But yeah, overall, like I said, you guys are going to love this buncher head. It's absolutely incredible. Okay, so what else? Anything else? New sound effect. So this the same sound effect, but basically inside the cab, you barely hear the cutting. You hear it a little bit. You won't hear it in this video because I'm talking, but you hear a little bit. But then outside of the cab, you'll hear like a normal buncher thing. So it's basically a little bit more silent in the cab. Before it was like really loud inside the cab, and it was a little too much. So now it's a lot more silent. You can kind of cut in piece. And that way, if you get one where the log gets stuck, it doesn't go bzz, 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 and drive you crazy. She won't hear it. It'll just be everybody else around you that'll hear it, and that's their problem. Okay, I'm going to cut these two last trees here, and then I'll be happy. Oh, look at that. We got them both. What are the chances? Okay, we're going to put the buncher down now. But yeah, smooth cutting. Oh, you guys are going to love it. Crazy. So that was a big update. And that's on both buncher heads, the Quadco and the Pro Pack. Buncher heads, processor heads. Oh, before I go on to anything else, so the track speed is also increased a bit. So you can actually track these machines around a little bit further. Let's see here. Just a sec here. There we go. So now they go almost 6. I think it's 5.5 kilometers an hour. So they go a little bit faster. It's not like crazy fast, but it's faster than it was before. Improved. Oh, so turning on them too. So, okay, this is one thing that's going to be maybe controversial to some people, but basically what was happening was we ran into an issue where people, when they were turning, so if I do like a 90-degree turn, I mean, that turns fairly fast, right? Fairly sharp, fairly fast. But some people, in this update, it's slower. In the last update, it turned like instantly, like super fast. As you can see, when I'm kicking this out, it's a very gradual turn, like very gradual turn. But in the last update, it was like zoom, like you would spin around really fast. And the problem is if you had a handful of logs in your grapple and you went to spin and stop, it would throw all those logs over the place. So basically this has been smoothed out. So now when you're turning, it's just a lot smoother turning in general, which is a good thing. I think you guys will like that. Another quick segment I'm just going to cut into the video here. So the Eltec yarder has new updates and new changes. Mostly is the hold down point. So I'm actually going to do a full tutorial video on this machine, which will be posted on the Learn How to Log section of the FDR Logging website. But anyway, I'm just going to give you guys a quick look at what's changed. So in the previous version that we had of this little tail hold down point used to have a piece that you'd have to move side to side. Well, that's actually been removed now, and instead we have a new setup for it. So now we actually have a placeable hold down. So if you hit Shift P as in Peter on your keyboard, right at the very top where it says Sheds, I just put it right under Sheds because it's just right here at the top. You don't have to go anywhere. So this little box down here is called the Grapple Yarder Tie Down. So if you just click on that, zoom in here. So this little square box is the new tie down system. And basically all you got to do is point the shiny claw teeth looking side towards the machine, line it up right inside this box behind the machine so that it's kind of like right in there, and then just lock it down, place it, So then now we have this little lockdown system. And basically this little lockdown piece holds onto the tail. The tail is actually now a dynamic part for the machine. So basically it moves around a little bit with the machine, and that gives it a little bit of flexibility while we're yarding. So once this placeable is here, this machine's not going anywhere. It's locked down solid. But if you want to move the machine, just go back into the Shift P buy placeable menu, click on it, and then just sell it and get rid of it. It's all $0, so you can do it as many times as you want. But then if you want to put it back, just make sure that you line up, like I said, the grapple-y, sharp, shiny part towards the machine so that it locks into that hold. And again, it's yeah, right in the money. So place there, do that. Okay, now the next thing that we've added, so now there's no more control for moving the tail slide part anymore. That's all just one unit. Now there's a little blade on the front of the machine. And what you have to do is once you get inside the machine, lower that blade. So that blade's actually controlled with our, we go down this list of, so FDR controls, it's under this front blade raise, front blade lower. So 17, 18, that's what controls that. And basically you just want to lower that all the way to the ground. And what it'll do is it'll actually lift the tracks right off the ground so that there's no contact of the tracks with the ground. It's all blade on the front and then tail holding on the back. And basically that'll give you full strength for pulling your loads. So we're just going to throw this out here. Let's just go grab a sample one here. The other thing that's kind of annoying is this cable. See how that cable disconnects from the head and it floats? I have played around with so many ways and I cannot get that to, as you can see as I back up, it actually reattaches at some point here. It's like there's a distance limitation. See, look, now it looks great. And then all of a sudden you get to this point and it's too far away and it disconnects. So there's some kind of a distance thing, and I've played with so many settings and I haven't been able to figure out how to make that work. So after you get a certain distance, you just have this beautiful invisible floating head, and that's just the way she goes until I find a solution, which I haven't yet. If anybody has a solution for that, hit me up. So go in, we're going to do our little grab. Oop, that was kind of an interesting one. Switch back here. Now, again, with this new system, you'll feel way more stable than the previous system I had. Swaying side to side, you might get a little bit of jitters, but basically with this tail, I've actually made the tail a separate component. So as I shift around, I'm going to stay still so you can watch. See, as I move my machine around, see how that tail kind of hops around and moves with the machine a bit? So it looks like the machine's moving around quite a bit when you're zoomed in down here, but when you're actually in the cab operating, like, it feels really smooth. You get like a little bit of jitters, but nowhere near as bad as it was before. And yeah, like I said, you can bring in your your turns really nice. Drop that there. Our magical cord is back. But yeah, basically just a really much easier tail system. And it's, yeah, just locks it in place and keeps it from wiggling about. It's definitely one of the better plans that we've had. So yeah, hopefully that fixes a lot of issues for people. Again, you want to be on kind of like a flat terrain as much as possible. I have had it successfully lock in even at like pretty angly areas when I was putting it up on the road and stuff. But for the most part, try to keep it as flat as possible. Otherwise, this lock-in point might not work super well. And then, like I said, you can just, when you're ready to move, make sure that you sell it. And then make sure that you put your blade down, because if your blade back up. If your blade's down, look, my tracks won't even move. They make the sound, but there's no movement. So you actually have to make sure that blade is up, and then your tracks will let you roll again. But as long as that blade is down, it takes all of the weight off of the tracks so that it can sit in a stable way. Yeah, so anyway, some improvements to the grapple and some other stuff that you might notice. But anyway, that's the Eltec. What else was I going to say? Something about the tracks there. All right, well, we're going to keep moving. I'm sure it'll come back to me. Buncher heads. We're past that. Processor heads. Okay, processor heads. So the processor heads, so improved grip and friction for better holding, fixed issue where the trees would hang up inside the head while running through, and smoother fall down for manual drop. Okay, so basically they're different weights, so they swing a bit more, which is nice. Improved frictions for grabbing. You'll notice this other claw at the back is able to go a lot faster. So I was watching some processor videos, also got some feedback from processor operators that play this game, that do it in real life. That back claw was just way too slow. So basically this claw lets you whip it up into the head. And I had a few videos sent to me of guys that showed me, like, watch, when you go into these piles, you can actually whip that piece like right up into the head because of how fast that piece goes. So you can go and shoot it up there. So now this one actually gives you that ability to kind of, once you get lined up, you can just kind of hammer it up into there, which equals out to being pretty smooth processing. So again, improved grips on the rollers. The rollers work a lot more efficiently. The issue that we used to have that is now fixed is when you're felling trees from a standing position, what would happen was sometimes when you're felling a tree like this guy, when you went to run it through as it was falling, it would hang up in the processor head and do some weird stuff. So let's turn that on. So now if I run it, see, it goes through really smoothly and it just drops it out. But basically what was happening before is, I'm parked in reverse here. There we go. It would catch. So right at this point, so as I'm felling, I shoot it, it would catch on the head right there, and sometimes would shoot the tree back straight up, and it was really frustrating. And I also ran into the issue myself, and I could never solve it, but it is solved now, so I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, again, felling trees a lot easier. Won't hang up in the head ever again. I've removed that ability, so it can't do that. The raising and lowering is a bit slower, so when it goes down and when it goes up is actually slower than it was before. This allows you to manually fell trees. And what I mean by that, if you ever come across trees when they're in a group, so you get two next to each other, you can actually use this manual saw on the bottom, like that I'm moving back and forth here. You can actually use that manual saw to fell a group of trees if you want, or even a single tree. So let's grab this guy, and I'm just going to manually cut it. So manually cut it, it stays upright, see? But now if I use the manual drop, it just falls a lot smoother, when before it would like slam it to the ground to the point where the game would like glitch out. So you guys can play with this and see how you like it, but honestly, it's a lot smoother performance. And because the trees are so rigid when you're dropping, it can just give you a bit of a smoother reaction with that as well. So yeah, processor heads are amazingly better. And the swing's a lot nicer. You can throw your head around into the piles a lot nicer and clean them up. Just freaking dandy. Okay. The long pole trailer. Do I have that somewhere on the map? I think I do. Yes, I do. So the long pole trailer now has new bunks. So it used to have those ones that were kind of like a round piece and then they curved off right here. But they just didn't stack nice, and I had some people have some complaints about other issues with that. So these are now just straight up square bunks, just like all the other trailers. And yeah, they just look a lot better, and you can stack the logs a lot heavier in the bunks that way. So squared those off and adjusted some heights for the connection points. So all the trailers, I've gone through and played with these connection points to make it so that they hook up to these trailers a lot better on these fifth wheels, because some of them were sitting a bit higher, or they'd pull down to the ground, or they'd shoot up really high. So that's been fixed. Okay, the B-Train trailer. So the B-Train trailer is the one that's parked up there, but has this pup. So I've done lots of collision fixes to this body, as well as the frame on this truck. So now when you're loading up the B-Train, like if you want to stack the trailer on top of the trailer, you'll notice that it'll sit nicer on the trailer due to some changes to the collisions. Other stuff, just played with this stuff to make it better. The fifth wheel hitch on that pup, you couldn't grab it before because your claws would go right through it. So now you can physically grab the B-Train fifth wheel hookup and drag it over if you want, if you're playing with the machine. That was another complaint from somebody. The low bed trailer, which I do not have a copy of on here right now. So the low bed trailer actually sits higher. So this little fifth wheel connection point, the fifth wheel on the B-Train, or on the low bed, will actually sit higher. So when you're hauling, you're not dragging the front of your trailer like basically where these skids are. They're not going to hit on hills. You'll find low bedding just a lot easier because you're not dragging the trailer friction as well as the object. Okay, Medill logo, or Medill log loaders. Fixed front window that had an overly bright shadow. Do we have a Medill here? Yes. So on this very front window on the Medill, this window here used to be like extremely bright. So it still gets a little bit bright from a weird angle. Like, see how it gets really white? But it used to do that from the front just looking at it. And now it pretty much matches up the rest of the windows. So that's one thing that somebody pointed out, and that's corrected. Clark cable skidder. I should actually buy a cable skidder to show you guys, because not major changes, but differences for sure. So basically what was happening in the last update, I think it was just the last update. Basically, when you walked up to the skidder, these back tires would start jumping and it would do like a little dance back and forth. Anyway, it turned out it was something to do with the width of the skidder. So having the tire, basically moving this tire ahead a foot caused it to do that. Moving it back a little bit got rid of the issue entirely. So something to do with the physics and the wheelbase. So you'll notice this skidder is actually a little bit longer than it was before. This back end sticks out a little bit more, but it's actually good because your anchor where your winch is sits a bit higher, and your back end is actually further away from your tires. So when you're pulling skids and stuff, you can keep the end of your skids way further away from the actual rest of the machine. So again, it's just a little bit longer, not like crazy longer, but you'll notice it's a little bit different. But now it doesn't have that crazy jump around issue. When you're going up hills, it's not going to start freaking out and fly away on you. So that's fixed. The Clark skidder is fixed. Timber Pro forwarder, which I do not have on here. Basically on the Timber Pro, we had the same issue where for whatever reason, the front tires would kind of bounce a little bit. Just when it was parked like on flat ground, and it didn't make any sense. So I moved tires around, changed some physics, changed some weights, did some balance stuff, and now the issue is fixed. Also on the Timber Pro forwarder, I increased the wheel size on the front just a little bit because it was kind of looking a little dinky on the front. So I just wanted to beef it up and make it look a little more badass. Okay, and then the last thing is the brush cutter. The brush cutter. Actually, we're doing good. We're only at like 30 minutes in this video. I thought it was going to be hours, but I've also not been going into too crazy detail here. The brush cutter, where are you? There it is. So this is the brush cutter. So I'm going to just lower it so I can show you here. It's been changed around. So this brush cutter is actually from FS22. The model is, but I did not realize that these chains here were an actual alpha map. So basically I applied the alpha map, so there's actually these chains on the bottom that are supposed to be there instead of the ugly squares that were there before. So now they got these nice chrome chains. I also changed the body to a chrome plate on the side instead of a colored plate. That way, no matter what machine you're using with it, it doesn't matter because it matches up. Before it was bright yellow, so when you matched it up with a red machine, some people didn't like that, and I agreed it looked kind of dumb. So now that it's this chrome color, it's very universal, sort of like the Grapples all being black. It's just like a universal color to match the machine. That isn't really brand dependent. I also fixed an issue where, so if you turn on the head and it's running, now, when I drive forward, it used to slow the machine down so that you couldn't go fast, but that is corrected now. So now you can go at any speed, because what would happen is we go jet, like the whole machine was like shake, 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 shake while you were driving, but only when the head was on. Then when you turned the head off, it would go back to being smooth again. So anyway, that issue is fixed, and it doesn't do that anymore. I also fixed it so that this ground cleanup makes the ground look pretty much the same across the board. Before, it used to have the plow texture mixed in there. Same with the buncher head. They both had that plow texture that was kind of like grinded into it. Well, now it all leaves the ground looking like this kind of cultivated look, which I know is not like the most realistic thing on earth, but it's better looking than some of the weird gouges and plow marks that it would leave behind before, which were not realistic to the shape of the machine cutter. Yeah, other than that, like I said, general update, things just way more in terms of weight, but also feel better. So one last thing I want to show you guys on the weight front. So the biggest complaint I got for tippiness, machines being tippy, was the feller buncher. So again, I always describe, if you're going to pick up 20 trees that weigh 300 pounds, the machine should be a bit tippy, but I do agree some of the stuff that we had going on, it shouldn't be tippy for. So this is one tree. I'm parked here. Let's get on some flat ground here, because when you're parked on an angle, you're always going to have a bit of wiggle. So this is kind of flat, I think, right in here. That feels pretty good. Well, it's not. See, we're not even on the ground because there's a low point here. Here, I'm going to try to, the reason I want to get on completely flat ground is I just want to show you guys the tipping points of this machine. I feel like this is pretty good. Let's try this. How's that? There you go. So now we're on pretty flat ground. So again, that's a pretty, it's not a crazy big tree, but that's a decently sized tree. So in real life, if you're whipping a tree around like that, your machine's going to get a little buck to it. But as you can see, it's very sturdy. If I go off track, it should get a little more bucky in terms, but it sits a lot stable with the new suspensions and the new tires. It might lift up a little bit, and then if you get your arm way out there, you might get a little bit more tip. But as you can see, when the tracks hit the ground, they don't tend to bounce too bad. They actually settle quite nicely. And before, when they hit the ground, it was really like bouncy. So again, I'm trying to find that balance between, you got to have a little bit of tip to make it somewhat realistic, but I don't want it so tippy that the machine's bouncing around. So you're going to find that it's a lot more like stable in general. So bunching's the big one for sure that people will notice the stability. One more thing. So on the buncher head, this was a complaint from a buncher operator, a real life buncher operator. He said he wasn't able to turn his machine when he was using his head on the ground. So in real life, they do something called jump turns, where you push the head into the ground and then use it to actually move the machine. So I actually put some plates on the bottom of this machine that are high friction. So now you can punch that head into the ground, lift your tracks up a bit, and as you actually turn your head, you'll see you can actually do a bit of a jump turn. It works way better from the front than it does from the side. But that's me, and I'm not using my pedals at all. That's just me moving my cab swing to the left and right with the head punched down just a little bit. But hopefully this makes the jump turn a possibility for the gentleman who wanted it. And again, it's really handy if you're wanting to turn on a specific angle. You can actually use that head to help turn you faster. And same if you're going in reverse, you want to turn it around, you just punch the head down just a little bit, and it'll swing you around a lot quicker than using your pedals to turn or using your turning left and right. So yeah, hopefully that'll be a nice little added feature. I am sure there's stuff that I missed even in these patch notes because I spent so much time. I had a lot of time off this last month and I just absolutely got into this and did all kinds of stuff. But yeah, like I said, the grapples and the bunchers were definitely the big one. I put a lot of time into making those good, and I'm really happy with the way the grapples and the bunchers turned out. It feels almost as close to real life as I've ever been with the grapples and grabbing trees. Obviously, there's still weird little quirky things that can go on with these grapples, and the physics are indeed just this game's physics, but for the most part, it's way better. The other thing about grapples, because we're still here and I'm talking about grapples, I made it so the friction on the grapples is actually a bit higher, so they don't slide as violently as they used to, so you can actually like pick them up by grabbing the tines off the ground. So if I get it just at the right angle, I can actually pick it up without it slipping out of there. Same difference if you have it resting. We're kind of on an angle here. Let's see if I can grab it in a spot where she doesn't want to slide here. Maybe towards the front a bit more. On flat ground, it'll slide, but as you can see, I'm not gripping on it at all. It's just sitting there. Like if I go too fast, it'll start to slide. Like if I go really quick, it'll slip out of there. But in real life, I can take a log and go like this and open the grapple and catch it. And that's kind of how I tested it. So I did that in real life. I sat there and I was like, oh, okay, well, I can do this with a real grapple. And it's about the same amount of resistance where it slides just a little bit and then stops. Because really on this surface where this metal is here, this shiny bit, there really isn't a lot of resistance because it's just a slippery metal, like a kitchen sink, basically, in real life. So it slides really easy. It's really only the grip of that grapple that hangs onto the log and allows it to not go any further. So again, you guys can play around with this stuff, but I think you'll really enjoy the grapples and the physics. All of the dangle heads, the fixed heads, the every head type has these new and improved logging physics and log grabbing physics, and it's just exceptional for loading, for everything. Same on the trailer bunks. The friction has changed a little bit on the trailer bunks, so when you're packing the logs in there, they settle a lot nicer. I'm just gonna give up here and stop because I can just keep going for hours talking about all the little intricacies of physics and blah 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 blah. Anyway, 8.0 update. It's available right now. www.fdrlogging.com. Go get it, abuse it, and let me know what you think. I think you're gonna love it because I love it. All right, guys, we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.